Diddy might be walking out of the front doors of the federal courthouse in downtown Manhattan. This after, in a shocking turn of events, he was acquitted of 3 of the 5 charges that he was facing, 3 of the most serious: racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking of Cassie Ventura, and sex trafficking of the woman known as Jane. I was inside the courtroom when the verdict was read out loud. Cheers and cries of joy could be heard in the courtroom as the jury foreman read not guilty on count 1, 2, and 4. Diddy's attorney, Tenny Garagos, just breaking down in tears, sobbing in the courtroom as she hugged Diddy's mother. And as the not guilty verdicts came in one after another, Diddy started fist pumping, doing prayer hands, and eventually he dropped to his knees. His family wiping away tears, and when the judge cleared the courtroom and the jury was dismissed, they all stood up, giving him a standing ovation as U.S. Marshals took him away. Diddy telling them repeatedly, "I love you, I love you." Now, the jury did convict him of 2 charges, the transportation to engage in prostitution charges related to Cassie and Jane. When all was said and done, Diddy's lead attorney, Mark Agnifilo, stood up and asked the judge to let him out on bail while he awaits sentencing. He said he will turn in his passport and his plane is already chartered. Let him go to his home on Two-Star Island. So then the judge asked him, "You want me to let him walk out of the doors of this courthouse?" And his attorney said, "Yes, that is what I'm proposing." 2 transportation charges carry a maximum of 10 years in prison, and prosecutors say that they will be seeking lengthy prison time. So then lead prosecutor Maureen Comey asked the judge not to let him out on bail, saying that we have seen that he is abusive and does not follow the law, given that right before he was arrested, he was found with drugs. And lead prosecutor Maureen Comey arguing that the outcome of the trial did not change the fact that Diddy is an abusive man who does copious amounts of drugs. She also said that the court cannot trust that he will follow the law, mentioning that even when he was waiting to be arrested and was under investigation, he still had drugs and was still doing freak-offs. The judge said that he will make a decision later this afternoon.
I'm not a lawyer, but child, there's a verdict in the Diddy trial. Kinda. So, jurors in the Diddy trial sent a note to the judge that said, quote, "We have reached a verdict on counts 2, 3, 4, and 5. We are unable to reach a verdict on count 1 as we have jurors with unpersuadable opinions on both sides." And as a reminder, count 1 is the RICO conspiracy charge, so that's the one they can't decide on. Count 2 is for trafficking Cassie. Count 3 is for transportation to engage in institution for Cassie. Count 4 is for trafficking Jane. And then count 5 is for transportation to engage in institution for Jane. So they have reached a verdict on 2 through 5, but have not reached a verdict on count 1. And just for context as to what we're dealing with, count 1 has a maximum sentence of life in prison. Count 2 and 4, the trafficking charges, have a minimum sentence of 15 years and a maximum of life in prison. Counts 3 and 5, the transportation charges, carry a maximum sentence of 10 years. So after the note is read, both the defense and prosecutors want the jurors to keep deliberating. They're not ready to just go with this hung on count 1. And so what typically happens when a jury tells a judge for the first time that they are stuck on a charge, the judge typically says, keep deliberating. There's also the option of what's called in some states the Allen charge, and that contains very specific wording, and it basically tells jurors to reevaluate their opinions and their thoughts and see if everyone can collaboratively come up with a verdict. So the judge in this case decides he's not ready to read the Allen charge yet, so he instead tells the jury, quote, "I received your note that you have reached verdicts on counts 2 through 5, but not on count 1. I ask at this time that you keep deliberating." So no Allen charge, he just tells them to keep trying. Now, because you're wondering, yes, if they remain deadlocked on count 1, they can still have a verdict for counts 2 through 5. It can be a partially hung jury. That can happen. We aren't there yet, obviously, since they are told to keep deliberating, but it can happen. Since this note came so late in the day, the jurors went back to the jury room, but then they sent another note saying they were ready to go home. So they're gone now. This is moving faster than I thought.
I just stepped out of the courtroom and there is a major development in the Diddy trial. The jury has reached a verdict on count 2, 3, 4, and 5, but they tell the judge they are unable to agree on count 1, the RICO charge. The note reading that they have unpersuadable opinions on both sides. For recap, that means they have reached a verdict on the sex trafficking charges of Cassie and Jane, and both transportation to engage in prostitution charges. The note came in at 4:05 p.m. and is the second note of the day. The jury has been deliberating since 9 a.m. this morning. In the first note, they asked for transcripts of Cassie's testimony regarding the Intercontinental Hotel attack, as well as the incident at the Cannes Film Festival and also a freak-off with the male escort that testified, Daniel Phillips. They also asked for Daniel Phillips' testimony regarding a freak-off at the Hotel Essex. Right before the snow came down, the mood was light. The attorneys and also members of the press were hanging out in and around the courtroom. Around 4 o'clock, Mark Agnifilo walks into the courtroom and says that he's just bored. But then his expression quickly changes when he gets an email. I noticed he looked at his phone, so I asked him, "Did you get an email?" And he said, "Yes, there's a note." And within 10 minutes, the courtroom was flooded with attorneys from both sides, Diddy's family, members of the press, and also spectators. And you could tell it was something big because immediately Diddy's attorneys formed a football-style, just all 8 of them standing in a circle around him while he sat in the middle. They had concerned looks on their faces, even a little nervous. And the conversation was intense, a lot of just head shaking. The judge walked in 30 minutes later and read the note out loud. And then he asked attorneys from both sides how they would like to respond. Immediately, lead prosecutor Maureen Comey jumps up and says that they propose a modified Allen charge. The Allen charge is basically a special instruction that the judge can give a jury, asking them to go back in there and re-examine their opinions and try harder to reach a unanimous decision without coercing anyone. They also suggested that he remind the jury that if they can't come to a unanimous decision, that it may lead to a mistrial. But the defense didn't want to go that far. They just wanted the judge to tell the jury to keep deliberating, that it's only been a day and a half and that they didn't give it their best shot. But both sides did agree that they did not spend nearly enough time deliberating to say that they're gridlocked. The judge also brought up another issue, that the court is closed on Thursday and Friday, and wanted to tell the jury that if they don't reach a decision, that they have 2 options, that they can all agree to come back on Thursday, July 3rd, and even though the court is closed, the judge would try to work some things out, or return Monday, July 7th. Both sides didn't have an issue with the jury returning on Thursday, July 3rd, but Mark Agnifilo asked the judge to give them those options only at the end of day tomorrow. His concern was that they would feel the desire to reach a verdict faster, just to get out of there. And per the defense's request, the judge brought the jury back out into the courtroom so that he can reply to their note.
I'm not a lawyer, but the verdict is in. Here we go. Count 1, which is the racketeering conspiracy charge, not guilty. Count 2, which is trafficking Cassie, not guilty. Count 3, which is transportation to engage in institution for Cassie, guilty. Count 4, which is trafficking Jade, not guilty. And then count 5, which is transportation to engage in institution for Jane, guilty. So out of 5, he's guilty on 2 counts. They each are a maximum of 10 years. So he's currently facing a maximum of 20 years, but that's again the maximum. He can do less time. His attorneys asked the judge to release him today on $1 million bond, let him go back to live at his place in Florida, 2-Star Island, but the government said he should be detained. The judge said he's not going to make the decision right now, but that's where we are. Diddy has been found guilty of 2 of the 5 charges, and to be frank, it's not guilty on the big ones. Seems like it's going to take a while for the actual sentencing, but we'll see if Diddy will continue to be detained or if he'll be released on bond. I can't believe I was asleep.